There's so much going on with the NNP, and we're just getting started. From candidate launches to contests, events, and breaking news, be in the know. Get notified first about big events and announcements. Plus, we're here to listen. We want to hear from you. Leave us a comment, tell us what's working and what's not. Like what we're doing? Let us know. The NNP is working for you. Interact with us on Facebook. Come on, Grenada, get connected. Like us on Facebook/NNP Grenada and keep moving.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Tomorrow's future is here today. Friday, April 5th. Kirani James Athletic Stadium. National Secondary School Games. Run, throw, jump. National Secondary School Games 2019. Your games, your future.
I am very much pleased with the turnout of the athletes and even the students who are here to support the athletes this morning. We have visited the schools, we have spoken to them about the games, and we have seen the impact of us going to the schools to encourage them to come to the event today.
The ministry has a mandate to ensure that we give students that opportunity, and so this is what's happening, and I'm just happy that we are able to do that. And there's no letting up. We are going to do all we can to make sure the events are as successful as they can be.
What we are doing is holistic development, and if we are looking at holistic development, sports and health and all the other facets that we need to uplift the children are key components to their development. So activities like this, which would bring out their sportsmanship, fair play, the ability to mix, to meet new friends, to associate with others, to share others on, to compete is critical for their success in the future. So activities like this, I would really say, go a long way in helping develop the students.
I just come here to run. That's my first competition for the year. Every opportunity that I get, I should make use of it. Because I never know what's coming next. If we work together, I sure will do it.
I'm very happy that I could go to the stadium to participate in the games.
I feel happy about myself, making my father and mother proud who work hard to, get food on the table for me, or to make them proud in the future. As we training a lot in this park, my coach, a good coach, Mr. Mores, I was trained for this day. So very in the future, I would like to make it up to the Olympics and CRFM.
April 5th, I just want you all to come and support the Eastern Zone. Give us all our support, and we'll try and do our best.
Investor interest evident in Grenada's secure investment climate. Details to this story and more in the national report. With the details to the news for today, Wednesday, March 20th, I am Rikisha St. Louis. Grenada's economic stability and prudent fiscal management are boosting investor confidence. For the second consecutive year, the island has attracted low yields on its short-term debt instruments as its latest auction yielded an interest rate of 1.9% with its reissue of a treasury bill on the regional government securities market. This is where governments of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, ECCU, trade treasury bills and bonds to raise funding for economic activities. This year, Grenada rolled over 15 million T-bills from 2018 and attracted $26.4 million after competitive bidding by investors. This, according to head of the Debt Management Unit, Carriacou, speaks volumes for the level of confidence investors now have in Grenada's economy. He says as a result of their confidence and the competitive bidding, the interest rates are being pushed down.
Our studies have shown that, yes, there are a larger number of potential investors out there that are not currently accessing the market at the level that we would like them to access the market, but you're definitely seeing a shift, an increase in the existing levels of investments that we're seeing from investors on the ground and in the region. So that's why we can speak to the investor confidence. The process that is used to obtain the treasury bill, competitive bidding on the auction, the interest rates could only go down and be driven down if the investors are competing actively in trying to get a hold of the government bills. So these things do say to us that, we have investors out there who, are very much interested in getting a hold of the Grenadian bills and bonds when they're being auctioned on the market.
Peer attributes Grenada's constant pull of investors to good practices like careful spending, being transparent, and prudent fiscal management.
Grenada has implemented a number of laws, new laws, and best practice models as it relates to fiscal management, as it relates to transparency, as it relates to good governance. And we are seeing the impact of these laws. We're seeing the impact of these guidelines, and so that we've placed, put into effect. And the impact of those, it's obvious in the numbers. For the first time in years, we've seen 3-4 years of constant growth, high-level growth, over 4.5% growth in GDP. Grenada is recording surpluses, in terms of its balances, and that is great. It's showing that simple economics, we are not overspending. We're not spending more than we're making.
The Ministry of Climate Resilience and the Environment is seeking solutions to the influx of sargassum seaweed on our shores. In a bid to curb the issue, an action plan has been presented to Cabinet on the way forward. Speaking at the government's weekly post-Cabinet briefing, Minister for Climate Resilience and the Environment, Senator the Honourable Simon Steele, says the sargassum is a growing cause for concern. Hence, his ministry is trying to find ways of remedying this chronic issue. According to Senator Steele, teams of environmental wardens are tasked with the responsibility of manually reading the beaches of the seaweeds. This solution, he says, is more environmentally friendly.
What we've found is the sargassum inundation has actually started early. So this is certainly a chronic issue that we see as getting worse as the years progress. But within that action plan, there were a number of solutions that are being proposed that will be rolled out in due course. It starts with the mobilization of our environmental wardens. There are wardens, teams of wardens that are associated with each constituency, 4 teams per constituency, 6 wardens per team. So they would be responsible for doing the manual clear-up. So this is light, environmentally sensitive clearing, and environmental wardens have already been deployed to some of our beaches, certainly up in St. Patrick's. So that is going to continue throughout the course of the year.
In addition, the Environment Minister says government is in the process of sourcing suitable machinery to aid in the offshore cleaning, one of which has been received through the German Development Agency. Senator Steele says while solutions are being sought, prevention is also significant.
The equipment was actually deployed for clearing of the reeds in Grenada. That was the original project design. But we've asked the technical experts at GIZ whether this equipment could also be used in saltwater conditions offshore, and they have confirmed that. So we are working with GIZ, with NAWASA, in terms of how we can actually deploy this offshore to reduce the amount of sargassum that comes on shore. And those discussions are taking place as we speak. So what we will see is with the introduction of that machinery, a much more efficient collection. But we know that isn't going to be enough also. It's one piece of equipment. We have many beaches. We also have Carriacou and Petit Martinique. So the ministry is also working together with the OECS Secretariat, with other islands within the region, as to other pieces of equipment that are suitable for deployment. The third area is prevention. So it's looking at solutions such as booms, which could be deployed offshore, which will provide a physical barrier to the sargassum, so it could be kept offshore. And again, some of the equipment, marine equipment, could be deployed to reduce what is at the back of that barrier.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
The safety on our roads make this a major priority. Health of our people, a crucial necessity. Accidents happen when road users are either irresponsible or inconsiderate in one way or the other. Play your part. Reduce your speed. Be attentive. It is your personal responsibility. Let 2017 be the start of no more road fatality. Be safe, be seen, be smart. So let's wise up as a nation, get to your destination safe.
Welcome back. Another successful staging of the National Secondary School Games, this time at Progress Park in St. Andrew, where the Eastern Zonal Meet was held. More than 140 athletes from 5 secondary schools were grouped in the zone, which included St. David's Catholic Secondary School, St. Joseph's Convent, St. Andrew, St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School, Grenville Secondary School, and the Grenada Christian Academy. It was clean and competitive rivalry as the athletes ran to secure a placement on the team that will form the Eastern Zone to compete in the final against Southern Zone, Western Zone, and Carriacou, April 5th at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. GIS spoke with Education Officer for District 3, Ms. Katyan James. She's happy with the turnout by athletes and support of the fellow students. She says they have seen the impact of their efforts to ensure participation, given that sports is integral to the all-round development of the students.
If we are looking at holistic development, sport and health and all the other facets that we need to uplift the children are key components to their development. So activities like this, which would bring out their, sportsmanship, fair play, their ability to mix, to meet new friends, to associate with others, to cheer others on, to compete is critical for their success in the future. So activities like this, I would really say, go a long way in helping develop the students.
GIS also spoke with some of the athletes, one of whom was Jamie Buddy of SAS, the winner of the 100-meter under 20 boys. He is looking forward to the games.
Every opportunity that I get, I should make use of it, because I'll never know what's coming next. Yeah.
And which are the other events that you're going to participate in?
The 200. And the relays, 4x1 and 4x4.
And the winner of the 1500-meter under 17 boys, Rickinson Henry, is looking forward to the April 5th meet.
I'll go train harder and come back for goal again. Yes, and I'll prepare myself for April 5th, start training and get better, improve on me stamina and speed, and go down and win my race.
Finally, in the news, the Roy Cape Foundation from Trinidad and Tobago has donated approximately 50 musical instruments to the Ministry of Culture to help enhance the ministry's programs in schools. The foundation, which focuses on reducing crime through music, made the donation to the ministry on Tuesday. Minister with responsibility for youth development, Honorable Kate Lewis, says that the timely venture will complement their work.
What they are contributing today will go a long way in enhancing the work that we do at the Ministry of Culture. Also enhancing what we do with our students in the music labs that we would have just implemented. We have one in St. George where over 52 students are participating, playing different musical instruments. This would be good for them, giving them the opportunity to express themselves through music, allowing them to see music as a career path.
Making reference to the recent successes of local artists here in Grenada, the minister is very appreciative for the donation that has been made.
We know that our soca our calypso industry has been improving over the years, and our recent successes in the international soca monarch is testimony of this. So we are grateful for the Roy Cape Foundation and the contributions that they are making to us here today. And as a division of culture, we will continue to enhance and protect and preserve our Grenadian culture.
Founder Roy Cape says ensuring that young men are occupied is one of their priorities. Music, he says, can be a mechanism to reduce poverty and violence in communities.
Our youths are astray because we cannot find enough to give them to do. We might have, ways to speak about them, but if somebody cannot get anything to do to make a living, they're going to find. And it's the easiest way, ends up in crime then. I believe that music can play a part in that.
That story just ended the national report for today, Wednesday, March 20th. Recapping the top story: investor interest evident in Grenada's secure investment climate. On behalf of all those who made this newscast possible, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Item 3, oath of allegiance or affirmation of a new senator. Item 4, confirmation of minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of the sitting of the Senate held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday the 4th, Wednesday the 5th, and Thursday the 6th of December 2018 be taken as read.
To the contrary opinion, say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes do have it.
Mr. President, I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of the sitting of the Senate held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Tuesday the 4th, Wednesday the 5th, and Thursday the 6th of December 2018 be confirmed.
I have a question, Mr. President. Yes, just for clarity. Now, and I'll give reference to this, for example, say page, the same Thursday, the first one, yes.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that. No, you have the floor. No, it's just I'm trying to manipulate the system to make it work. I find it so loud. Yeah. Page 17.
Okay. Page 17. The under-mentioned member, I'm starting from the top of the page. The under-mentioned member spoke.
Hello? Look, what seems to be the problem? Senator Roberts, you have the floor, please.
Okay. What I've noticed going through the minutes is that On the government side, there's never a name, but on the opposite side, there's always a name. So I don't know if...
What's Roberts? Senator Roberts? Yes.
Okay, even if it's one government business, on the other side, even if you look on page 9, it says Minister of State with Disaster Management and Information. All I'm saying is that a name should go with it. The person's name.
Okay. Clerk, could we reconstruct to include those? I mean, it doesn't change the factual account of the minute. I don't. Yeah. And we can just do this throughout. Okay, yeah. Where are we now?
Item 5, messages from the Governor General.
So, Mr. President, I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of the sitting of the Senate held at the Parliament Okay.
For the records, the same thing is. So, proposition is now that the minutes be taken as read.
As to be taken as read.
Right. Honorable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceedings of the sitting of the Senate held at the Parliamentary Chamber, Mount Weldon, St. George's, on Friday, 28 December 2018, be taken as read. All those who are of that opinion say aye to the
Mr. President, I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of the sitting of the Senate held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Weldale, St. George's, on Friday, the 28th December 2018, be confirmed.
Honourable members, the question is that the said minutes referenced by the Leader of Government's business be confirmed. All those who have that opinion say aye. To the contrary view, say nay. I think the ayes have it. The ayes do have it.
Item 6, announcement by Mr. President.
Honorable members, if I may, we have received notices of absence. Who is out of state on medical personal business, and Senator Andre Lewis, who is absent by virtue of the fact that his trade union is today having its general council meeting, of the triennial conference taking place today at the National Stadium. I don't have any other absences, Mr. Clerk? Yes, just thought so that you would know. Honorable members, between the last sitting of the House and now, we suffered the loss of 3 senators who were deceased. '79. Senator Jacqueline Corn. Collapse of the then People's Revolutionary Government in October of 1983. Mr. Antoine served from 1984 to 1990, and his contributions, as we would have learned, were quite outstanding. He was an agricultural economist. He lectured at the University of the West Indies for some time. He was a consultant in agricultural economics to several governments, including the People's Revolutionary Government, the government of Jamaica, and he did do some consultancy work with the government of Trinidad and Tobago. He served for a period as OS Ambassador to St. Lucia, and in respect, I don't quite understand what's happening with this mic system. I would ask that, as a mark of respect and as a salute to the service that they gave to this House and to the country as a whole, and to the further enrichment of our parliamentary democracy, that we stand for a moment of silence. And we take the opportunity, although we had done it earlier by conveying to the families our respective condolences, which we did by card and the issuance of wreaths. So a moment of silence in recognition and in respect of Jacqueline Cornwell and Alphonsus Antoine. Thank you, honorable members. Pray be seated. We are having some difficulty with this anyway. Honorable members, today is Syndrome Day. I don't know what the problem is. My light is on, but the mic isn't. So it's a day when we reflect and express our empathy with those in our own community as well as internationally who have suffered and are suffering from this very debilitating neurological illness. It is my hope that sometime not too far from now, modern medical sciences will be able to address this disease
Item 7, ministerial statements.
Senator, the Honorable Nolan Cox. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I stand to give some report on work within the ministry and portfolios that I'm responsible for, which is the Ministry of Youth Development, Sports, Culture, and the Arts. Yeah, got this back. As an independent nation, and through the Division of Youth, Youth Department, we had a very important session here in this honorable house, which is our Youth Parliament session. And I want to take this opportunity just to congratulate the 25 young persons. Mr. President, time and time again, we continue to include our youths and to ensure that we have some mechanism in place for transitioning and giving them the opportunity to experience what we do here and from time to time as regards to the nation's business and the importance of the parliament to this nation. And so we endeavor to continue this activity throughout this term. And of course, we do hope that the nation continue to experience this activity going forward for decades. Mr. President, also, we want to continue to focus on the issue of skills development. We recognize that is an area that is critical towards all young persons getting an opportunity to access jobs, not only in Grenada, but in the wider regional and international community. And we recognize it's an area of weakness, not just for Grenada, but also for the region as a whole. And we, in that regard, and we have currently ongoing a furniture making project in Petit Martinique, where 10 young men are involved in making furniture, learning to make furniture. And we want to continue to move forward with this project and to incorporate shipwright, boat building, going forward as another initiative through this very said project in Petit Martinique. As you know, Petit Martinique have a history for boat building and providing this country and also the region and international community some of the best seamen in the world. Added to that, Mr. President, we already have the standards for boat building that was done through the initiative with the National Training Agency. And so those standards are already there. So it's just a matter for us to implement those standards now through training initiatives. Also, Mr. President, we have been working on the Youth in Agriculture project, and we are working on the concept right now. We are looking forward to sharing what we have before we launch. We plan to launch sometime in June, and I'm hoping that we also can get our colleague, my colleague, Senator Dr. Dunstan, to participate in terms of looking at the document and making an input, the farmers rep, to ensure that all our stakeholders do have some input into this project and to ensure that we do the best for our young people in terms of giving them an opportunity to excel in the area of farming. This is a very important project for us, Mr. President, and we are looking to target about 100 young persons over a 5-year period through this program in various initiatives. So as we continue to finalize that document, more will be brought to the nation through this culture initiative. Mr. President, also, we continue to train, again, our young people, and soon, sometime later in April and early May, we have a training initiative planned for 25 young persons who are going to be getting some training in safety at sea and firefighting through a program what you call Standards Training Certification and Watchkeeping Program. That is an international certification, Mr. President. This will allow our young persons to have this certificate that will allow them to be able to get a job on a vessel in any international country, in any international port, for example, cruise ships, wherever. So this is critical for us. It affords them to be able to access jobs in the maritime industry. That is one of the largest areas where we have vacancies for jobs. Ensure that we provide all the opportunities necessary that is before us so that our young persons can able to access training. As we know, youth unemployment is a big challenge for us in the region, Mr. President. Mr. President, moving on to culture. Mr. President, we continue to not to overstate, not to underestimate the work that we are doing in the Ministry of Culture. It's an area that is very important for the development, not only just for young persons, but for the nation as a whole. Mr. President, we want to take this opportunity again to congratulate all our artists who would have been successful in the recently concluded Trinidad Carnival. We want to thank them for representing Grenada and continue to represent us as they go out in the world. Mr. President, as you know, we have our carnival coming up, and we're looking to launch Spice Mask Carnival on the 27th of April. And Mr. President, as a good consequence, as a positive consequence, we were trying very hard to ensure that we would have those artists here for our launch. Mr. President, they are all booked up. In one way, we are unable to have them, but in a good way, we are happy that they are out there and they are in high demand. And of course, they are benefiting financially and otherwise. And so we are happy for them. But we are looking at some other measures to see how we can incorporate them still within the launch, Mr. President. And we want to congratulate them in their efforts. Mr. President, also to congratulate the Carriacou Carnival Committee and all the persons who are victorious and winners at the Queen Show and the Calypso Show and the Groovy, and even the bands. We want to congratulate them, and we want to thank them for supporting Carriacou's culture and Carriacou's development through Carnival, Mr. President, and we wish them all the best going forward for 2020. Mr. President, sometime in November, we were engaged by the Roy Kip Foundation, who were desirous of working with us here in Grenada to develop culture through our school, National School Orchestra. And recently, I think yesterday or the day before, they would have made a donation to Grenada through the National School Orchestra of a number of instruments, orchestra instruments. Mr. President, this is one of the excellent initiatives that we want to really reiterate how much our school orchestra is very elated to have these instruments. We want to thank the Roy Kip Foundation for this gracious support in terms of donation to the development of culture in Grenada, Mr. President. This year's CarFesta will be taking place in August in Trinidad. We continue to prepare to participate as a country to ensure that we go and display our talents and to share it together with the entire world. More will be said about that in the coming weeks as we prepare for that important activity. Mr. President, the Simon Cultural Center, we continue to work towards realizing that initiative in bringing back the Simon Cultural Center. And we have just completed the surveys for the area that is earmarked for rebuilding. And soon after, we're going to commence with fencing the site, securing the site. We are also working simultaneously on the design and concept. And I did recall, Mr. President, that there will be a good opportunity for us to also to share the concept and designs with persons within the diaspora to get their input and to ensure that we have the best facility that is required for our development through the Simon Cultural Center. So, Mr. President, your suggestion is duly noted. Mr. President, in sports, we want to just to inform the nation on a couple of important developments in sports. Currently, Mr. President, we have on the port a stone roller that is being cleared, and that is earmarked for Carriacou for for Carriacou, for sports in Carriacou. Mr. President, this is an important piece of equipment, and now that we have cricket taking place in Carriacou, they had some challenges with their current stone roller, and so the Ministry of Sports saw the need, and we a new stone roller for Carriacou, Mr. President, and sometime later this week or next week for sure, that stone roller will be going to Carriacou. Mr. President, we want to. This stone roller will support cricket initiatives like the Carriacou Cricket Masters Tournament, which will be taking place later on in April, Mr. President. Also the cricket that is ongoing, the national cricket competition that is ongoing currently. Mr. President, through netball, we continue to train, and our persons over in Carriacou as well. We had officials, coaches from the Ministry of Sports going to Carriacou to impact training over there in Carriacou to ensure that Carriacou is not left out of the training and development. Also, we had our physiotherapists who went over to Carriacou as well to offer training to our PE teachers so that if for some reason somebody have some injury, some challenges during a sporting activity, because we don't have a physiotherapy on site, the PE teacher may know some basic techniques to apply to ensure the safety of that athlete until they can see a physician. Mr. President, we want to take this opportunity to congratulate a number of athletes, sporting personnel who would have done well for themselves and Grenada recently. We want to start off Mr. President, who is the first Carriacouan to become a member of the Winner Islands cricket team, regional cricket team. Mr. President, that is a significant achievement for himself, his family, and the people of Carriacou to break that glass so that we have somebody who is on the... Mr. President, no doubt will believe that he will continue to go on to become a member of the West Indies national senior men's team. That will be a significant achievement for us as a country, and of course as Carriacou, the island of Carriacou as well, and Pretty Matnik, where his mom is from. Mr. President, we also want to congratulate Jamora Alves during the recently concluded national champs, the Greater Athletic Association national champs. A 15-year-old Jamora Charles broke the national junior record in shot put. Her distance was 13.08 meters. Mr. President, we want to congratulate her, and she's set to represent us in Carifta coming up on between the 20th to the 23rd of April, Mr. President. Also, Kelsey, who has been outstanding for us. She again, 17-year-old Kelsey, our old shot put record. She broke our old shot put record, setting a new record. So 14.55 meters, that was the old record, and her new record is 15.91. Mr. President, we knew that she was going to continue to develop and do better, and we are seeing it, Mr. President, and we believe that she is going to medal again come Carifta this year. Also, Niconia George, Mr. President, broke a 6-year-old record at the games in triple jump. The record is 12.20 meters, and her new distance is 12.5 meters. So we want to congratulate her too as well. And that we're short on time, I just want to also to congratulate the Grenada under 17 football team, national team at the CONCACAF games that are taking place. And we just recently defeated St. Vincent 2-1. We are currently in fourth position, and we are scheduled to play in Nicaragua sometime next week, Thursday, I believe. Mr. President, we want to congratulate them and wish them all the best going forward. Just two more items, Mr. President. We know that we're working together with the Greater Swing Association to realize our aquatic center, where we can have an international pool, where we can host events. Recently, they had a visit from the supplier for the pool, mortar pools in Grenada. As you know, government would have invested in that initiative by donating the land to Gaza for the site for that facility. We continue to work together to ensure that we very soon. They are continuing to raise funds. I haven't had how much money they have raised so far, but I know that they're working very hard to ensure that they raise all the funds together with the Grenada Olympic Committee to ensure we realize this facility. But more on that will be coming. Mr. President, just two more things. In terms of collaboration between the Ministry of Sports and the Grenada Olympic Committee and the Grenada Athletics Association, Mr. President, I'm happy to announce that we have taken a decision and started to work on building a 4x4 relay team, a national relay team, men's relay team. We're working towards qualifying for the Pan Am Games and also to represent Grenada at the Tokyo Olympics in 2020. Mr. President, it's something that we believe that we do have the athletes to develop a relay team. There have been a lot of discussions about it, but we have finally made a decision, and we have asked our Grenadian coach, Aline Francic, to lead the charge, to work with this team, to pull this team together so that we can represent Grenada at the upcoming Olympics in 2020. Mr. President, I think this is a very important initiative, and we are very happy that we are moving forward with this initiative, and we look forward to success for Grenada at the Olympics with our 4x4 relay team. Mr. President, the last thing, the Ministry of Sports, in our workings, we recognize that we have a challenge, not only just for us, but also mainly for our athletes overseas, Mr. President. And sometimes they have difficulties, and we recognize that there is a challenge in the communication. And so ourselves, together with the Grenada Olympic Committee, we are working on getting what we might call a liaison officer for all our athletes who are overseas, so that we can be able to connect with them or work with them closely and assist them with whatever challenges they are having, and also to get a clear understanding what is going on with them, and to know, also for the nation to know what is taking place with them out there in terms of what activities they are participating, and even some of the successes, and for the nation to cheer them along as well. So, Mr. President, this is something that we have started with discussion, and so soon we'll make a decision on appointing somebody to be that athlete liaison. We haven't decided how it's going to be done, if the person is going to be here or the person is going to be stationed overseas, moving backward and forward. So these are some things that we are discussing with the Grenada Olympic Committee to ensure that we have this persons in place, so that we have a desk to deal with all our international athletes matters. Mr. President, this is a report on the ministry at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Cox. Just let me indicate to the new senators that this is also an opportunity in which you can ask questions, in respect of ministerial statements. If the question becomes too complicated, then I will give direction on this, because, yes? So it's essentially questions are an expansion or clarity on the report given by the particular senator in respect of his ministerial duties. Yes?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, I listened to the report, but I am not certain if I heard any mention made of the ongoing secondary school games at the National Secondary School Games from the Minister.
I'll speak to that.
Okay. Yes, Senator Cox, yes.
President, as you may appreciate, we just three of us here that are capable, who are allowed to give ministerial statements, and there are a number of ministries. Persons, if I do not mention, other colleagues will take up wherever the slack, and we only have a tight time, 10 minutes per person. So just wanted to reiterate that. Yes, Senator Dialli. I just have a question for Senator Cox regarding the recently held cricket between West Indies and England, and the fact that I know our stadium still has issues with lighting. If you could give us an update on that situation.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. To my colleague, yes, we are the government of Grenada. Right now, through the Ministry of Sports, we are working very steadfastly to bring lighting, not to the stadium alone, but also to the Las Vegas playing field. It's a sizable project for Grenada. What we are currently doing is that there is a preferred bidder who has submitted a proposal. What the government has done currently is to engage another company who is assessing that proposal to ensure that the proposal that is sound, that is accurate to the best, and to ensure that we get value for money. So that is what is taking place currently. So the assessment of what is proposed for the implementation of that project, that is, we have a private company now looking at that proposal to advise government and to make recommendations on a final product. Mr. President, the reason for that is that this is a very costly project and government is very cautious. And I believe something of this nature, we can only do this once. And so we want to ensure that we do it properly. And hence, we're trying to move as meticulous as possible and to get the best advice as possible on where we are. So work is ongoing. More information will come to the nation through this honorable house as we proceed. But what is taking place right now is an assessment of that proposal. As soon as we have that report back, then we might have to tweak and look at everything else. Also, in terms of all the technical stuff, all those will come to light when we. But we are working. It's a top priority for us, I can tell you right now. Thank you.
In respect of the statement made, I mean, I'm not applying the rules strictly, but from my recollection, he made no statement on the stadium. Oh. Okay. Well, yeah, all right. Well, yeah, I think you found the technical movement. Yes, okay, fine, yes. But I just thought as a general rule. But you know, I'm not very strict with the rules unless the conduct is disruptive. But I just thought I would, so that people don't get a sense that they're being ambushed, you know, yes? That they are appropriately well armed with the information. So either of the three batsmen, so to speak, could handle the matter. Yes, I think that's Senator, the Honorable Winston Garvey. Senator Garvey, you have the floor. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and good morning to everybody. Mr. President, I rise to give a report on the portfolio and the other ministries I have the responsibility of to report in this Honorable Senate. And I want to start off with NADMA and to say to us, Mr. President, that the agency continues with its education and awareness drive to help build a culture of disaster risk reduction in the country. As you are aware that because of our geographical location, we are very prone to not only hurricanes and the likes, but tsunami and others. And on the last Thursday, we participated in what was a regional exercise called Carriacou Wave. And for the first time, we were able to, from a regional context, simulate a local hazard, and that being Kikem Jenny. As you know, Kikem Jenny is some 8 kilometers away from St. Patrick. And the scenario would have erupted, and produced large waves that created a tsunami. And we were there to test our various protocols to ensure that persons know exactly what to do, get to the highest point, people obey the instructions. And I want to say that for that exercise, we had over 100 persons participating or registering to participate in the exercise that is online. We had over 800 persons evacuated on that day. We had the communication companies participating by sending out the various texts. We had, though we were in St. Patrick's, but we were happy and gratified to have companies as far away as St. George taking part in the simulation, and they would have tested the communication apparatus. So we had in the SGU, we had the GTA, we had the Salt Grenada Limited, we had Huggins, all testing some components of the call centers as well, Clay Harbor and the likes. And they all tested some part of their response mechanism. And I must say, we were gratified from a disaster standpoint that the message is out there and persons are being cognizant of the fact that preparation will help save lives and save property. As it relates to our institutional or capacity building exercise, come next week, we will have a very important training, a DANA training, damage and needs assessment training. And you know, this is very critical because it helps to compile data. And in order to access grant funding these days, Mr. President, data is pivotal. And we will be having this training with support from USAID OFDA. We're looking at the first day, and that is the 28th and the 27th and the 28th of this month. The first day we will look at the general stakeholder body to orient them and to bring them up to speed with what is expected or required of them as it. And on the second day, the first half of the day, we will, for the first time, assemble the SMB or bring the SMB together, the Senior Management Board, and to bring them to the place where they will become more familiar and to be more appreciative of the requirements of DANA within the various ministries. And by so doing, we expect to have a renewed interest on participation in the whole aspect of DANA within our country. Just for example, in August 1st last year when we had the rains, what is critical to getting us to be at a place to access support from the international community is providing adequate data. So this training is extremely important, and I want to say a special thank you to USAID OFDA for their support. Also next week we will have the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, our parent body, CIDIMA, visiting Grenada, and basically to do an assessment of the collaborative work that was done between NADMA, NAWASA, and CIDIMA being the funding agency for the NAWASA School Water Project Initiative, a community water project initiative. As you know, what we have been able to do is work with the NAWASA to find funding from CIDIMA towards supporting this project. And I should say some 17 schools throughout the islands were impacted, with some 18 1,000 gallons water storage tanks. I say 17 schools, but we have 18 tanks. We have schools where they have some form of facilities for water, and we were able to build more on what they have. So 18 1,000 gallons water tanks were donated to. We had the Grenada Government School, the Concord Government School, the Happy Hill Secondary Schools, and they got 2 tanks, and you could understand because of the size of the facility. The Florida Government School, Bonnet Government School, Tivoli RC School, Grenada Christian Academy, Telescope. St. Dominic's RT School, Presentation Brothers College, Green Street Pre-Primary School, St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School, St. Andrew's School for Special Education, St. John's Christian Secondary, and the Vendome RC. The cost of this project was $220,000 EC dollars. Mr. President, what is critical here for us from a disaster management? We have a number of shelters, emergency shelters, that in the event of an emergency, as we see, a hazard relating to a disaster, those shelters will become operational and persons will have to be housed there. And what we have realized, some of those facilities do not have the water storage facility to make them adequately prepared to receive such persons. Hence the reason why we were able to do this. But in addition to the water initiative with NAWASA, we were able to work with a number of other buildings, schools, and as well as community center in another project by the Canada Caribbean Disaster Risk Management Fund. And specifically, the objective of that project was within those shelters for persons with special needs. And I want to single out here the St. Andrew's Anglican Secondary School because they got the largest chunk of this modern bathroom facilities to accommodate persons with, as I said, special needs, and to also outfitted with ramps and the likes so persons can access those buildings. And it's a number of facilities around the country, over 8 of them that we've been able to work with. And I want to say a special thank you to not just the project team from NADMA, but the Canada Caribbean Disaster Risk Management Fund for supporting us in this regard. I move to the GIS, and I must say here, Mr. President, I want to take this time to commend this small team of dedicated men and women who have committed themselves night and day to provide, not just provide, to capture and then disseminate quality information to the residents of Grenada, Carriacou, and Pitamatic, and the wider diaspora audience. And currently, we are covering the zonal meets for the secondary school games, which will lead to the secondary school games, National Secondary School Games on April the 5th. And Mr. President, in the last week or so, I was given cover for the Minister of Sports, who was unavoidably out of state. And visiting the Western, and yesterday the Southern Games, the Eastern Games, sorry, I was tremendously pleased with what I've seen. I don't know if you saw, Mr. President, the excitement and the camaraderie after they would have won. Some of them would have waited 5 years for this big stage to demonstrate their athletic prowess. Some of them 1 year. And when I looked in the stands and I saw how the students celebrated and shout and just name it, and then the teachers and the parents who ran onto the tracks or the field in the Western Games and punched in the air, and they were so much in a jubilant mood to see the children having that opportunity to demonstrate their athletic strength. To me, Mr. President, no money could have really paid for this. This, to me, is more valuable than $2 in my pocket, just to give the students. It would have been unconscionable if the government would have sit by and not allow our students, some of them who came back to school for the last year, just to get an opportunity to showcase the talents with the hope that somebody out there, some scout will see them and give them that break, as Kirani had and Alan Francis had, and Ronald Bartholomew, Josh Botang, Lyndon Victor, just name it. It would have been unconscionable if we did not take that opportunity and that decision to have the games so that the students this year can showcase their talents on the tracks. Mr. President, I move over to the Ministry of Health. And I want to say that the Ministry of Health, Social Security and International Business ramping up its interventions aimed at ensuring the mosquito index remains at the acceptable or recommended WHO standards. And this came to being against the backdrop of the reports of a new strain of dengue circulating in the region. The increased presence of vector control officers will be seen around. And Mr. President, it is extremely important for us to say at this point in time that persons who harbor or breed mosquitoes on their premises will be dealt with. It's about time those illegal dumping spots and those places that create the environment for mosquitoes to become an issue for the state. We will enforce the legislation. Operators of tire shops and the likes are asked to ensure that they, in the controlled environment, they protect the environment by securing the tires properly. Mr. President, also I want to move quickly to the Ministry of Legal Affairs. And I know there is this urgent move by the ministry to ensure that more court spaces are made available. And to this end, we are working with the operators of the Carriacou building on Young Street to have this facility retrofitted and ready for the new law term. That is our commitment, and we're working towards this. I know the snag list would have been completed. Actually has to be done to bring the building up to that place. It's a short window, a closed timeline, but we are committed towards making sure it happens. And I want to just say to all the legal fraternity who've been working with the Ministry of Legal Affairs to ensure that we get to that place. I want to say a special thank you to you. To move quickly on to as you know, NADMA is the coordinating agency. We have been working with a number of international partners towards bringing benefits to our country. And one of the partners we have been working with is the Japan Grant Aid for the Economic and Social Development Program for Grenada. And through this program, some US $820,000 was secured to provide equipment that will aid in disaster risk reduction. And to this, a number of stakeholders within the NADMA chain benefited from this aid package. And as I said, NADMA would have written up the project and put it together. And today I'm happy to say that in August of this year, we will be receiving a new motorized vehicle, or a bus to be exact, that will be retrofitted to transport people with special needs. We spoke of retrofitting buildings. Now we're saying to get the people to the buildings, we need to have the facility that will take them there. And we will be receiving that transport or that vehicle in August of this year. Received to date, we have a cargo truck for the Grenada Red Cross, as well as the Grenada Airports Authority. Also, we have the Grenada Ports Authority. They too would have received a cargo truck. The Port Authority, and I'm extremely excited about this. This has been a clarion call within our NIAC meetings, monthly NIAC meeting. It would have been one of those areas that the port was constantly talking about, and that is how exposed we are to oil spills, because you have Trinidad just there, our passing lane just to the south, cargo ships and the likes and so forth, and there was a concern. And happy am I to present to this today, Mr. President, that the Ports Authority, Grenada Ports Authority, was in receipt of one, an oil fence, two, oil skimmer, and a high pressure washer. All is within the whole range of equipment you will need to clean the environment should there be an oil spill. And I think that was an extremely, extremely important piece of equipment, or equipment we have received for the state of Grenada. Also, I am extremely happy to announce that the Ministry of Works or Infrastructure Development would have received a mini asphalt paver. And we know the importance of quality infrastructure. And as we say, first impression is lasting. Visitors, investors, and the likes come into the country and you have poor infrastructure, it really sends a negative picture. But we have been committed from a Ministry of Works standpoint to ensure that our infrastructure is up to date. And the receipt of a mini asphalt paver will help us in ensuring that our infrastructure is of quality standard. And just to run through quickly, we have received also the Ministry of Health a field hospital, and what this is primarily is saying that a mini hospital being mobile that can be taken anywhere in the place of emergency, disaster, whatever, and the first responders can treat the patients right there, stabilize them almost in an environment close to a theater or the like. And this mini hospital for that purpose. And it is very important to note, Mr. President, that we are very conscious as we continue to develop this country. Health and health facility is pivotal towards sustaining and building resilience within our economy. So this piece of equipment is extremely important, and it speaks to the direction where we want to go as a nation in terms of protecting our people. And I really want to take this time here to first thank the Ministry of Health for identifying this as the equipment they need, and for Japan Aid for acceding to our requests and providing the resources to ensure that we have this piece of equipment. And also, Mr. President, the Ministry of Carriacou and Petit Martinique Affairs, they would have received an incinerator, and that, well, they have not yet received it, but it should be here not too long from now. And again, that is extremely important as it relates to the disposal of hazardous waste or biological waste, just name it. Having an incinerator will now ensure that we build a set of resilience in our health sector and to protect our people. And this, Mr. President, is a move that we all should applaud and commend the government, because this is speaking to 21st century development. Those things are extremely important. And just to end, to say that to disaster management, we have continued with our drive towards building resilience within our various districts. As you know, the country is divided into 17 districts. And currently, started yesterday in St. Andrew Southeast, a first aid training session is being held. Some 23 persons are being trained in first aid, because as we've said, first responders are the ones that will help you to be able to deal with whatever emergencies that will arise, stabilizing persons before the medical practitioners show up. That is important. So the training is extremely important, and we will continue as a management agency to ensure that our 17 districts receive training so that at least the country will continue to be aware, continue to be prepared, and we'll be able to adequately respond to whatever hazard that may attack us. And finally, as you know, Mr. President, June 1st is usually the commencement of the hurricane season. Currently, this is just indication. I have 2 more minutes. I just close. Okay.
Somewhat your ministerial length of time. So there are 3 senators. That should give you, what would it be now, 20 minutes per senator. So
much obliged, Mr. President. I thank you for your graciousness. Well, just to continue. Yes, I was at the point speaking of the June 1st being hurricane season and what is required in terms of preparation. And key in our preparation from a disaster management perspective is to ensure that our shelters are, one, inspected and approved to be able to accommodate persons should the need arise. And currently we are doing this. I know the team is currently in Carriacou, and I'm looking forward, and the deadline I would have given is May to have the approved list of shelters provided to the states so persons can familiarize themselves. But in the meantime, I want to advise residents, homeowners, business places, and so forth. Don't wait till we get to the hurricane season to realize that there is an issue on the roof, flapping galvanized or the lights and so forth, a broken window pane, to get it repaired. Now is the time to start doing those things and to make sure that we are ready. Just by means of advice, we are in the middle of, as I say, a prolonged drought. Thank God, cricket came and we had rain with it. But the cricket gone, so the rain gone away. But it's important to know that when there is a prolonged drought, the oceans will be warm, probably hotter than per usual. And we do know that a warm ocean is fuel for cyclones, hurricane storms. It is believed we're going to have a robust hurricane season, so I just want to say to our people, we need to start making all necessary preparation at this point in time. I also want to go back to the tsunami, the Caribou wave exercise, which was held last Thursday in St. Patrick, and Carriacou. And I was reminded here that Carriacou had a number of persons actively engaged and participating in the exercise, and I really want to commend the people of the sister island of Carriacou and Peter Martinique for participating aggressively. Overall, I'm seeing here that they took full control of their own space, the scenario, and was able to move people as was required. I spoke of Sol, EC Limited, Huggins, SGU, GTA, Grand Lake as well participated in and Clay Harbour participated in the whole exercise, though they were far removed from St. Patrick's, but they saw the need to communicate. And as I said, you can test various aspects of your disaster apparatus. And I will end by saying, Mr. President, that we do believe that as a country, as a people who understand the dangers of storms. Because we had our own experience with Ivan and Emily, and we know how destructive and dangerous this could be. I want to implore on our builders, homeowners, ensure that we follow the building codes at all times. So the construction of the roofs, or screws, or whatever is required, let's follow it to the T. You might save $1 now by doing it halfway, but it's going to cost you more if we are to be impacted by a hurricane. So with these words, Mr. President, I want to thank you for the moment.
Thank you, Senator Garvey. Senator Ron Redhead.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have just 3 questions on the make a statement. Well, not a statement, sorry about that. I would just seek some clarity on something that the minister reported on. But the first 3 questions, Mr. President, is in relation to the equipment to clean oil spills. I would like to know from the minister, I don't think mention was made, who donated such equipment, and what will be the cost of operating such an equipment, and do we have the labor here in the country to operate the equipment? And Mr. President, in relation to hurricane season, I just want to say that the minister is a bit not factual. It's misleading to say that when we have droughts. All right. All right. No problem, Mr. President. All right. So those are the 3 questions in relation to the equipment.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Mr. President, I only speak after the expert. So the point here, and I did say at the commencement of the statement that the Japan grant aid for the Economic and Social Development Program for Grenada, that's where the funding came from, $820,000 US. And the equipment was donated to, because it was a request from the port authorities, because they need that. They're responsible for the maritime space in terms of port issues and the likes. So we received the equipment, and we had the technical people from Japan who came and did the training of our technical people to operate those equipment. So it will become a part of the job description of the employees, technical people from on the port authority. So you're not hiring new people to do it. They have the capacity, and they have been trained to do that. All right, thanks.
Those were the three. I gave all of them one.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the Minister, the issue on the legal and the issue of the courts, I just want to ask if there is any consideration being given to the registry and the situation in that area and the situation of the current registrar and what is happening there. That is the first question. The second one on the oil spill and the training, and whether or not NADMA would be working in conjunction with ports on this whole issue of oil spill, because yes, maritime space falls under the port, but does NADMA now have a role to play in how we deal with oil spills as well, because that could be a national emergency as well. And the third thing is clarification. Did you say that we were in receipt, Ministry of Health was in receipt of a mini hospital? And if so, what is the consideration for deployment of that? Is that through emergencies or what? And how is it going to be maintained?
Senator Gawi. Okay, yes, Mr. President. The first question as it relates to the court and the issue with the registrar, I must say here that the clinical facility is 3 floors. Initially, we were looking at the 2 floors because they were available. We were told lately that the first floor, so the entire building, and we were looking to house as almost all the facilities or the auxiliaries that will support the court within that facility. As it relates to, and this didn't come up, but I know people being concerned about parking and so forth, and you'll be surprised and maybe amazed as to the number of space you have at the back of the building for parking. So no, there would be no need to have vehicles parked on the Young Street area. One can be housed at the back of the building. There's adequate space for the dock and so forth and the likes. I trust I got the full context of that question. As it relates now to the oil spill, and you asked as to NADMA's role. NADMA is a coordinating agency for disasters. So all sectors, we have some 13 sectors that come together. Oil spill and the likes are one of those committees within the structure of the National Emergency Advisory Committee, or Council. And Port sits there and chair that committee. So from a technical standpoint, NADMA provide guidance there and assistance. And hence the reason why the request was made for that oil spill equipment. So yes, we will continue to work with our stakeholder, the port, to ensure that this happens. And I must also say that all the major oil companies within the country are a part of this committee. So it is, I'm really excited with this committee, how they function, and to see, say, competitors, but they work as one team for the common good of this country. The last question was the registry or the registrar? Oh, the mini hospital. The mini hospital, the field hospital, as I said, was received from, by the Ministry of Health. And primarily, this is designed, as I said, as a small theater moving to a disaster zone. The first respondent will be able to stabilize and do the work as you would do in a theater or so, right on the spot. The Ministry of Health, they have the capacity, they've already been trained to operate this machine, and I think we are well placed to utilize it adequately.
Of course, I don't ask questions, but just a suggestion based on your very comprehensive reporting. I want to suggest that as soon as it's possible, that you will actually have an oil spill drill and to possibly make it an annual or biannual event, because the likelihood of a spill is very real, not only from Trinidad, but we are within the passageway of huge oil tankers trafficking the Southern Caribbean. And the dangers have been increased in recent times, given the difficult situation faced in Venezuela and the international blockade against them. Many people have been reporting military vessels, when in fact, from the information I have, there were just oil tankers sitting out there because they couldn't make the deliveries to U.S. ports. So I think there's an urgent need for an exercise to first of all assess the depth of skills acquired by the people at the port and to test your own ability to coordinate. Yes, I think it is something that you should bear in mind. That's just my suggestion that I want to give. The other question, which was made by Senator Diali, which I think it slipped you, he wanted to find out how these things are going to be maintained. And I think his maintenance question was relevant both to the field hospital as well as to the equipment. Yes, what provisions have been made for maintenance? And if I may just put in, because if you don't store the particular equipment properly, you may discover when you go to it that it's not working. So I just thought I would put that in there for your consideration. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And just to say that this is one of the activities the Oil Spill Committee has been pushing. Just about 2.5 years ago, when we had the trade wind exercise here, one major component of the exercise was an oil spill. So those companies would have tested their operations and so forth. But thanks for this again. This is something that we're going to push to be on the front burner so that not probably every year, maybe every other year, that could become an exercise that they should push. As it relates to the maintenance, and I am happy you raised this because where we are going at this point in time, there was an issue before of not having enough ambulances and the likes. And then last year we got a whole load of them, up to 10 we have, and able to satisfy the complement that PAHO would have said the required amount in terms of ratio to the population of this country. And one of the suppliers of two ambulances, that's the CBN, they have committed to the maintenance, so it will not be government coffers. They provide it and they will maintain it. And what we were doing at this point in time, and it came with the training exercise from the Japan technical people with those equipment, how to maintain. So the information has been disseminated to work with our stakeholders to ensure that adequate use, but also the maintenance aspect of it is strictly adhered to, because it's not easy to come by. And we want to make sure that you're going to serve us and serve us for a pretty long time. But thanks very much for the questions.
Having, and I don't understand it because it's just new equipment, but we seem to be having technical difficulties with the amplification system. It seems to be tripping off for no particular reason. And as you know, the proceedings are recorded, and when it trips off, then there will be blanks in the recording. No, we have an activity here on Saturday, and I'm concerned, you know.
Yeah, can I suggest a 5-minute adjournment so they could, maybe a technician could look and resolve this, because this is going to hamper us throughout the course of today.
Of a national health insurance for Grenada. This is in fact so, and Grenada is in the design phase of setting up what a national health insurance would look like for the country. In this short production, we would discuss what's a national health insurance, or NHI. As persons may know, the government of Grenada, in keeping with Sustainable Development Goal 3, which deals with health and well-being, took the decision to introduce a national health insurance, or NHI program, that aims at providing universally accessible and affordable health services to its residents, and particularly for the socio-economic marginalized segments of the population. So in other words, a national health insurance is a compulsory health financing mechanism which pools health risks and contributions from all residents in a single fund. This essentially means all residents of Grenada will at some point be required to contribute to a pool of funds through various mechanisms so that each person can benefit. Sort of like the I help you, you help me, we all help each other scenario. What this kind of health financing mechanism does is enable universal access and universal health coverage. But what exactly is universal health coverage? According to the World Health Organization, universal health coverage means that all people and communities can use promotive, preventive, curative, and rehabilitative health services they need of sufficient quality to be effective, while ensuring these services does not expose the user to financial hardship. Simply put, the ordinary man must be able to access health care for his well-being at any given time without the headache of where the finances would come from. This is exactly what a national health insurance hopes to achieve: universality, equity, and efficiency. We hope this short production gave you a better insight into what a national health insurance is all about. For more information, contact the Secretariat on telephone number 439-6447 or email us at info@nhigrenada.org. You can also look us up on Facebook, National Health Insurance Secretariat Grenada. Don't forget to like our page. In our next production, we explain the difference between equal healthcare and equitable healthcare, another major feature of a national health insurance program. I am Abigail McIntyre. Communications Officer for the National Health Insurance Secretariat, saying thank you for listening and do join us again next time.
Tomorrow's feature is here today. Friday, April 5th. Kirani James Athletic Stadium. National Secondary School Games. Run, throw, jump. National Secondary School Games 2019. Your games, your future.
Pleasant good morning to Minister Steele, PS Jessamy. Thank you for having us. I just so happened that last week I went to Mrs. Jessamy's office to discuss one item, which was the plastics, right? And then Steve Ross came up, right? Steve Ross is part of Tropical Trading from the US. He's a major distributor of our new product line, which is world centric. Right, and everything happened so fast, and this is one of the reasons why we are all here today, to show that there are alternatives to foam and plastic. And our company, Independence Agencies and CK Super Value, we are really honored to be part of the process of reducing, and not only reducing, but eliminating, right, and the amount of foam and plastic that is in our environment. And we are basically looking at sustainability of our environment, Grenada, and for our children in 100, 200 years to come. And by taking this initiative, I'm sure this will go a very, very long way. And we are very proud, right, as agents for world-centric products to be part of this process. Now, part of the meeting is briefly to discuss what are the alternatives, because a lot of consumers outside there think there are no alternative, but there are alternatives to the foam bowls and the styrofoam bowls that we use on a daily basis. And we are going to go through some of these today to actually showcase to you what we have right now on the island and in our markets, in our supermarket, and so that consumers can know what are the alternatives outside there. So, Minister Steele, we can briefly, say a word, and then we move on to Steve Ross, who will take it.
I wish to thank Independence Agencies, CK Foods for putting this, organizing this this very important meeting and recognizing Steve Ross. What is critical, very important about this session and where we are in transitioning from products, styrofoam, single-use plastics that we all know are a threat to our health, a threat to our environment, and the need for us to change our habits with regard to these products. The government has taken a very proactive position and is one of the global leaders in terms of banning styrofoam. That ban came into effect in terms of the importation of styrofoam in September of last year. And then single-use plastics, be that single-use plastic carrier bags and other products, plates, cutlery, cups, other utensils, etc. And what is important about this session is showing the cooperation between government and the private sector. The government's role within this is creating that environment where there could be a smooth transition from the non-biodegradable to biodegradable products. And we have done that through the passing of this progressive legislation. But in terms of the implementation, there are carrots and sticks involved within incorporated within the legislation. But it's important that there is a sense of cooperation between government agencies, and the private sector to actually make this happen. And what we're seeing demonstrated here this morning is that coming together of government doing its part and the private sector doing its part.
And what we'll see here today is a demonstration that there are viable alternatives. There are economic considerations, there are other supply considerations, but we believe, as I said, working together with the private sector, we can address the sensitivities that are associated with this. And the ultimate goal, what we all want, whether it is government, whether it's the private sector, whether it's the consumer, is to ensure that the products that we are using, the products that we are consuming, are not detrimental to our health, which we know that styrofoam and plastics, as they break down, as they enter the food chain, the impact that has on our own health, and so the negative impacts on the environment. So we have a single objective, and it is how do we work together, put the necessary things in place, how do we collaborate, how do we adhere to the legal framework that's been put in place, which we know is in our national interest. So in concluding, I certainly wish to thank independent agencies and the proactive stance that you're taking. There are other suppliers out there who are also taking a proactive stance within this, but it signals that we are on the right course. And Steve Ross's involvement in terms of sensitizing us to all of the alternatives out there tells me that we are on a very good footing. So I look forward to the discussion that is going to follow.
Thank you.
We at independence agencies are also very concerned about the environment and the effect that the plastics and foams having on both the people of Grenada and the environment. And when we were approached almost a year ago by certain people who were trying to do something about it, we decided that we will cut down the importation of foam products to start as much as possible, which we have done. So we are quite happy to be involved with this launch today of a new range of biodegradable products, which we just received through Mr. Steve Ross, and he will be giving us more detailed explanation as to the products, the type of products we have, what is available. And that's not the end, because that's just a start. There are many other products that we can be bringing in as the time goes on, but that's just the start of the range of biodegradable products that we will be bringing in. And we at independence agencies are happy to be involved with this launch. And we are aware that there are other companies who are involved with bringing new products, biodegradable products to the island, and which we applaud as well. But we are happy to be involved as one of the leaders in trying to change the way things are done and to change the environmental waste that is happening as a result of the foam and plastics that we're seeing around. So without further ado, I could probably pass this on to Mr. Steve Ross, who will give us a more detailed explanation as to the products that we have brought in recently and the positive results he's been getting from other islands where this is also being introduced as well. So I'll pass you on to Mr. Steve Ross.
Okay. So I thank everybody for being here, particularly Johan Baldo for inviting me here, Minister Steele, Ken, and Brian Sylvester. Thank you very much for your time and for welcoming me here. We've been very, very busy in the Caribbean, as you've alluded to, regarding all the issues that you've mentioned, Minister Steele. This is a regional move. This is a move that has been sponsored by the UN, encompassing 12 countries right now: Barbados, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Grenada, Ecuador, Panama, Peru, the Dominican Republic, St. Lucia, and Uruguay. This is just from the UN Council gathering up a consortium of islands and countries that know that this is essential. Beyond that, this is a global initiative. This is in the UK, this is in Canada, this is in the US, where World-Centric, being on the forefront of this, is doing business with some of the largest companies that you would be familiar with, like Google or Facebook or Apple Computer, major hotel chains, college campuses. The groundswell and the initiative worldwide for what we now realize is a very detrimental product to the environment and our health and the marine life and the delicate ecosystems of the islands. The tourism industries, everybody relies on the environment, from the backyard farmer that wants to plow his ground and not have harmful microplastics in there to the animals that live in the environment around us and to our human life. So there is a lot of concern over, are these alternatives viable? Do they really do what they say they're going to do? And I wanted to educate everybody today to give you a little bit of the background of the product itself, which is really my specialty in this. These products, besides being earth-friendly, which I'll describe in a moment, use less energy and water to make. We're not drilling oil out of the ground and creating massive plumes of smoke, and you've seen these refineries overseas. We're using less energy and water, not to mention the fossil fuel, which is not renewable, to make these plastics, which are so durable they persist in the environment for hundreds of years, 600 years or more. So that is the one benefit of the product alone, forgetting of its nature, as I'll get to. They are made from annually renewable sources like plants, sugarcane, bamboo, wheatgrass, and corn. Those are the four main commodities that are used to make these products quite ingeniously. They are non-toxic, they're non-polluting, and they break down into healthy particles in the soil or in the marine life. Even if thrown out casually or composted, they break down into a healthy way. They produce less pollution than wood or petroleum products. Plain and simple. They're just eco-friendly in every sense of the word. They are approved for food use by the FDA, which is one of the major certification agencies that does that. There's many interregional agencies that I'm going to mention in a moment that are approving these, but the FDA is one on the forefront. We just said they save biodiversity and habitats. Just as you can see, animals and things that would want to mistake this for something in the ocean, many things that you see walking along the beaches, marine nets and plastics, things look like squids, they look like animals to other large creatures. They're being ingested and they can't digest it and they die. And they perform very well. They're thoughtfully designed, and they enhance the experience of people that are out consuming food products. We talked earlier about they can be microwaved. Foam cannot. It will melt. It will cause a serious health issue to people when you melt plastic in a microwave or other area. So you've got 6 or 8 reasons why these products are fantastic in and of themselves. The process in general, it's known generically as bagasse. And bagasse begins as sugarcane, which is harvested, or bamboo, or corn. It is extracted as the waste product of the molasses or the corn oil or whatever. That fibrous product is then the residue of those productions. It is wet. It needs to be disinfected and cleaned and molded into boards where it can then be shaped and formed into various shapes and sizes that you see on our display over there. And not just by World Centric. There are other companies involved in this. So by all means, World Centric is one of the leading companies out there. There are a few out there and more coming on stream, understanding the importance of this. It's disinfected, it's molded, and then it's ready for use. And once it's ready for use, it's used, thrown back into the composting facility where it's really supposed to go, and turned back into soil for the process to start all over again. So you really have a life cycle of this product that is a closed loop. There is nothing going outside of the loop which hasn't been thought of once it's handled properly, and we have representative from the waste management here as well, and the discussions will continue into the months ahead as to how we establish facilities which will come with products.